So Miller obviously had the drugs test. He took a few years out, and he's come back, had a few fights. So what did you make of Miller's performance? Do you think the drugs, the lack of drugs, is having an impact on the way he fights? Because he had a reputation of being not just big but high volume, whereas in this fight there wasn't much volume really, was there? I mean, he wasn't the same. What do you guys think? Do you want to go first, Mustafa?
Okay. Uh, I don't think it was lack of drug. I think it's 4 or 5 weeks out and getting called for a big fight, and then
Mhm.
you probably prepared 2 weeks in America before you went to Saudi. And I've been to Saudi before. I've traveled before. It's hard to simulate the same conditioning at home as on the road,
Mm.
far conditioning wise. Who would turn down the Saudi fight, a Saudi trip? No. He always stayed in the gym kind of like maybe mediocre. You could be in shape but not in fight shape.
Mm.
That's a real. A lot of my guys be in shape,
Mhm.
but all 4 or 5 weeks. I want to say yeah, and he probably you think Dubois quit a couple of times or whatever, but he was prepared. He was fully prepared, and I think it was more a big maybe underestimating him more than lack of steroid. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion.
Yeah, I actually picked Miller to win that fight, but it was yeah. I mean, I know the coach of Daniel Dubois, Don Charles, from those who train in the same gym as Spencer Oliver, my coach. So Don Charles is a really great guy. So it's good to see him having this young guy to work with. But how do you think this will impact Dbar going forward? Do you think he's just 26 years old and now he's going to kick on to be one of the best in the heavyweight division? What do you think, Suleiman?
Well, to piggyback off,
Is
Coach,
is the screen frozen?
can you hear me?
Coltrane? Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Your skin went
We
black
good?
though.
yeah, I can hear you now. Your screen's frozen. I can hear you.
All right. To piggyback off of Coach Moo's point, him and I, we kind of come up along the same lines of teaching. And one thing the old guys always would tell us is that you can't do this sport part time. You either in it or you out. There's no such thing as being a halfway fighter. And Miller, he's been in and out of ring for whatever reason. And like Coach Moose said, he took the week on 5 week notice. No excuse. But Dubai just fought Usyk this year. In the fight, arguably, he could have won if the referee got the count right. So here it is. This is a fluid guy who's in fighting shape versus a guy who's, and this is not a knock to Miller, but he's kind of a part time fight. You can't treat boxing like Uber and Lyft, where you're just going to do it part time just to pick up some hours. Boxing don't work like that. It's going to tell on you real fast, and that's what you saw a guy that's been fluid, who's been frequent, and the results were what they were, pretty much.
Mm. So where do you think Miller goes from? Do you think this has any impact on his career in a negative way, or do you think because he didn't have much time, he came out, you take that risk
Yeah.
and he put performance in? Where do you think Miller goes from here now?
I think that Miller needs to get his legs back underneath him. Take some fights out there that's somewhat winnable against a friend, more a fringe contending type guy. There's a ton of those guys running around in boxing. And he just need like a year worth of commitment to the sport. And it starts. One piece that you gotta break the elephant down piece by piece. Try to eat the whole thing. It's like I said, just take a fight of a guy. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank of names up there, but it's Coach Moo probably got a guy in his gym looking for some work. So there's a ton of guys out there that's looking for some work. So he just got to get back in fighting shape. To Coach Moo point, how he started his point off in boxing shape.
Mm. Yeah. So, Coach Mustafa, in the past, there's been some criticism towards Dubois for the way he's lost a couple of his fights against Joyce and Usyk. Do you think he sort of proved the doubters wrong in this
Yeah,
fight with Miller?
I think he needed it because coming out he was the best prospect in the world. Big, um, strong. I mean, just really, really what you want. You know what I'm saying? I've been around him. He's big. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
Oh
and he
yeah,
could punch.
because he came and sparred Mac Truck, didn't he? Yeah, so you've seen him firsthand.
I
Yeah.
could see everyone gloating over him and think, but no matter what, he had to be tested, go through it, and those things make you. So because I Chris had it before as well, and it was the truth that I don't think that he went as hard as he could,
Mm.
and so I think he needed it, and I think that's what will take him to another level than what than you know what I'm saying, than what he
Yeah.
was. It's okay that because it's like nowadays in the world doesn't forgive anything. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? He
Right.
was Devin Haney won, but Lomachenko, like, what are you talking about, man? Or Timo look good. Oh, but he looked good.
Yeah.
Listen, he's growing. We
Mm.
watching these guys literally evolve in front of our eyes. So I do think those things are going to help him become a much, much, much better fighter. He
And
deserves in the world. You know, when he looked bad, we all jumped on him. Everybody things whatever. But at the same time, when he make it do well, let's you know what I'm saying that he fought well. Cause Miller ain't no chump.
it's not easy fighting someone 330 pounds that coming at you. It's that pressure,
And
that size. Even his half punch is gonna hurt. 330 pounds.
Mhm.
If they have to land clean, he's a big, strong guy.
that,
And, yeah,
he look good.
yeah. So 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 Coltrane, Dbar is just 26 years old. I mean, you know a
Right.
lot about the boxing history. What do you
Uh-huh.
think his ceiling is? Age 26. I mean, we'd go back 30, 40 years. Guys at 26 are world champions. But what do you think Dubois' ceiling is now for age 26, which nowadays is relatively young, relatively inexperienced still, but he's doing really well. What do you think his ceiling is now then?
You know, he's a big puncher, and Coach Moo gonna love this one. You know, I think about guys who, from my own city, guys like Burt Cooper, guys like Ray Mercer, not that he's on that level, but he could be in that realm somewhere where you're not the stars of the division, but guys that can give anybody work on any given day, Tim Witherspoon type guys of the world. That's what I see in him. Look, because I don't want to, the Usyk fight was interesting to me, and I don't want to go off track. But what am I not on some of the fighters from abroad is that they don't like to fight inside. And Dbar was able to kind of do something. I think that it's a weakness with Usyk. But that's another subject there. But my point being is to answer your question. I think he's somewhere in that mold where on any given night, he gonna give you a headache. He's not just some guy that's just gonna come there to lay down to help pad your stats.
Mm. I think with a lot of Dubois, because of the way he lost those two fights, a lot of it was mental as well. And now he's proven to himself more than anyone else that he can beat
Absolutely.
someone who's good. I think that's going to do him a world of good. How he's got that self belief now, and that could take him. That could take him a lot further than just a simple
Absolutely.
victory. Because when the fighter believes himself, that's when it becomes very dangerous. Especially someone like a heavyweight, one punch can just change the fight.
True. Absolutely. Like really, like he can like you said, he can really give anyone a tough night any given moment. Especially you say now he with Don Charles, who's like a great coach. Cause he looked better in this fight. Um, so he looked better skill wise. Of course he is more older, mature. Um, so you know what I'm saying? It's not like there's somebody out there that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like he does he on that level. He on the level right there. So uh, not world champion, not, but he gave Usyk a good fight.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Like
hurt him.
Coltrane said, that count could have gone another way, couldn't it? So he was very close to becoming champion there, wasn't he? Okay, so the second big heavyweight fight was Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. So Coltrane, what did you make of Deontay Wilder's performance? A lot of people, we all know he's about his power, but it seemed like he
Right.
wanted to do a bit more boxing. Do you think he should have stuck to what works best for him, was just come in there, just try and blast out his opponent, use that power?
First, shout out to Malik Scott. He's from Philly, hometown guy. So I'm always supportive of what he's doing as a trainer because I see that he's getting a lot of flack for this. But Coach Moo know this, at, up close and personal. If trainers get all the blame when a fighter lose and no credit when they win, but I think that this had a lot. Yeah, Coach Moo know, and unfortunately, Deontay Wilder, the late bloomer. He started boxing at extremely late age. He doesn't have an extensive amateur pedigree. So a lot of those flaws and deficiencies, unfortunately, they're like a closet that you keep ignoring, that you eventually got to clean out. And that's how bad flaws are in boxing. And Deontay, look, for what he's able to accomplish with the lack of basic fundamentals that he has, he was able to accomplish a lot. Look, the guy only got 3 losses. Unfortunately, there's certain styles, no matter how powerful or non-powerful a guy might not be. That's what I love about boxing, is that you don't need to be the most powerful guy in the world to neutralize a guy. So what you saw what Parker did was he did something, I'm not going to say simple, but we're all boxing guys here, but it was somewhat of a simplistic approach. He put a jab in his face, he smothered Wilder left hand, and he made him go backwards, a place he don't like going. So it was kind of easy for Parker. Now, the hard part of having the discipline and that, here go the key word here, conditioning, to be able to weather that for 12 rounds. And he was able to do it, which is not an easy thing to do. Now, some people are going to say, well, Wilder was over the top. The ring, where he's been out of the ring. You could bring the Fury fights, maybe took a lot of them out of him. Look, 2 things could be true. Maybe he did lose a step. Maybe he's not the same fighter. But I stick to my story, is that athleticism wears off at some point. So the power, the fast muscle twitch that Wilder possessed, Father Time sometimes, come and give you a tap on the shoulder without knowing. And you mix that in with a guy who knows how to box. And then you get what took place on Saturday night. I just think that Parker and his team had a great game plan. We're going to crowd him. We're going to take that power hand away. And we're going to make him go a place he don't want to go. And that's backwards. And they was victorious. So I think that's how I went.
So I'll put this question to yourself, Coach Mustafa. So we just mentioned about Jarrell Miller fighting on short notice. Wilder hasn't fought much either in the last year or two, maybe 1 or 2 rounds. Power is the last thing, they say, which leaves a fighter. And Wilder's a great puncher and a heavyweight. So how much do you think ring rust, combined with his age, what is he, 38 now? How much do you think that affected his performance?
It affected it a lot. A lot. That's real. You think about something. Spence out before he lost the cross, out for a long time. Fulton off almost a year before he fought anyway. These things are real. And now, couple of what I have. You can't satisfy people. Everyone said Wilder he learned some skills. Right? He tried skills and lose. They say he should rely on his power. Like you can't. It's like there's no direct way. You know what I'm saying? He may be trying to say, okay, let me get on my. But I'm saying that for you, Emmanuel Stewart, right? It goes back to Emmanuel Stewart. Andy Lee was under Emmanuel Stewart for how many years? A very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to see all the guys that Kronk style, good, long, heavy, strong jab, and good right hand.
Yeah.
So he knew the effects of it, but he also knew how to take it away. And now you got Joseph Parker, been active twice this year already.
Yeah.
Okay. God Fury as an advisor. And if you ask me, the perfect heavyweight size. 6'3", 6'4". You know what I'm saying? 240, 220, 240. Perfect size, in my opinion. Put the long jab on his jab to neutralize Wilder's jab. No one likes fighting going backwards. No.
Yeah.
That's how you guys put them on their heels. Only a few guys can fight going backwards. So he had a phenomenal game. On top of the rust, on top of being out the ring, and on top of him probably trying to be what he naturally isn't. He'll never be Mayweather. He will never be Malik Scott. Malik was a pure boxer.
Yeah. Yes, he
Wilder
was.
is a pure.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, he tried. I don't think he was trying to box. He wasn't trying to kill him, man. He was trying to box. Wilder moved for 5 or 6 rounds in a row. He sat on nothing. So it's like, what was he trying to do? Maybe trying to not look so wild. You start over in the ring, start overthinking the ring. People they overthink. I want to make sure I'm doing it textbook by the book and critics. And that could have froze him up. Now he moving instead of being who he is, and then thinking maybe Parker will break down. He said it for years. All I need is one punch. I don't count rounds, which is not good, but he got away with it. Then until you don't get away with it, you know what I'm saying? Tank Davis, he don't win round like that right there. Tank will chill. Tank average, I think, 13 shots a round.
Wow.
Tank is going chill until he gets you. So it does work, but it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? And Wilder did it for years at a very high. He was outboxed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys, one round, he would say verbally, I don't care how those rounds. I need 1 second to land the right hand and the fight is on. And everybody say the hardest hitter of all time. And you hear that stuff. My son can punch really good. And everybody say, oh, he believe. I'm like, man, I don't care nothing about that. But you know you can punch. That's your bailout. Once I hit him, it's over. I'm going to knock him out or he going to.
Yeah, having that one punch knockout power is your get out of jail card, which sometimes fighters can get a bit too enamored with, but the fans more so.
We may criticize it, but you never knocked a guy out like that. He been doing this his whole life.
Right.
How could he not really believe in that punch?
Yeah.
You have to have. He got full confidence. If I touch you, is you over with. Dr. Steele, name change. You know what I'm saying? Like he believed that no matter how much Fury better than me, I every fight. Every fight he hurt Fury. So you know his kids believe this. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna knock Parker out. Parker ain't good as Fury, but Parker did better than Fury though.
Yeah, you could.
So to show you how styles make fights, right? Styles make fights, not names. Yeah.
Even though they still learn, they still men.
Yeah. You mentioned. I think one of the Kronk coaches, one you guys may remember, is it Jesse Robinson? I can't quite remember his name, but I remember him saying in an interview, the Kronk way is that you don't run from power, you run to power. That's exactly what Parker did. He wasn't running away from Wilder's power; he was smothering his power. That's the Kronk way.
Actually went straight to the power.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what else too?
Mark McCallum had one hell of a chin as well.
One of the key thing about what he did. The key thing about what he did was, and Coach Moo and you too, Fayz, you can attest to this. You know, you work with fighters, is the discipline. How many times we see guys abandon game plans? Like for Parker to be that, because one mistake, that fight's over. He makes one mistake, Wilder get him out of there.
If you look around, it get a little iffy. I'm like, nah, stay focused, bro. You good 11 rounds. Don't knock.
Because the fans are
Wilder said it himself, didn't he?
Yeah, he said it himself. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be good. You got to he said himself, to beat me, you got to be on point for 12 rounds. I only need to be on point for 2 seconds, just to land that knockout punch. But Parker did it. Main discipline.
He did it. Yeah.
So Coltrane, was this another one of those behind the scenes Detroit versus Philly fights then, with Maddox Scott coming from Philadelphia and then Andy Lee training under the Detroit style of Manuel Stewart? Old school throwback fights.
It was a good card, though. I was shocked.
So Coltrane. Mm-hmm. So Coltrane, where would you now put Joseph Parker in the conversation of the top heavyweights?
Oh man, boxing is so weird, man. It's such a styles make fights league, because Parker he did that against Wilder, but if you put him in a ring with a Usyk or Fury, or you put Fury in there, or even Joshua already beating, so he's in the mix, because I hate that when these guys lose, they get written off and they just want to bury them, I think he'll be in contention potentially, maybe to win one of these straps if they come vacant. but I don't got him beating Usyk or Fury. Outside of that, like we said about Dbar, like he can give anybody a good rumble. Maybe he learned. Now remember, he's 40. I think he's 40 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Parker, he's
Joseph
up there.
Parker.
Yeah,
Parker's about 31 now. He's quite young.
okay. I'm mixing him up with the Chinese guy, Zhang. What's the Chinese guy that beat Parker?
Zhang. Yeah, he's about 40, 41. Yeah,
he's 40.
Yeah, he's
that's okay. So Parker is still relatively young. Okay, so he just stall out these older guys, the Usyks and the Furies and the Joshuas of the world, and then he could probably he could be on top of the mountain. And just maybe this was like Coach Moose said. Sometimes these guys need these type fights as a confidence booster. They just might boost his morale. But styles make fights at the end of the day, and there's food on the table for him. He just got to make sure he's picking the right fights.
I mean, he is a former champion, and when you say picking the right fights, how do you believe he would do in a rematch with Joshua? I'll put this question to both of you. If Coltrane want to carry on, then Mustafa you go after.
I think Josh is go back to these styles and matchups. His style, Joshua's style, is just wrong for Parker. I think, me personally. But hey, I'm down to see it again.
Yeah, I think that's maybe one of the best fights to make. Being that you got Fury and Usyk about to fight coming up, so like Joshua got talking about maybe the Wilder. I say let him run back with Joseph Parker. He got a new coach from back then. I'm pretty sure much more experience. And back then, Joshua undefeated back. So both of them are different. It depends on his matchup, man, and strategy. With a good strategy, he can do a lot better than last time. I think last time he did lost, but he didn't do horrible. He didn't do horrible at all.
Yeah.
He close fight maybe can pull it off.
So when you say good strategy, if you were coaching Parker, how would you prepare for someone like Anthony Joshua?
He's a lot faster than Joshua, a lot more elusive. But Joshua looked good the other day. He looked pretty.
He did.
He looked better. That would be Joseph Parker's a real like crafty guy. Use the craft, try to set up a trap. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because obviously, if he has a rematch with Joshua, they've obviously competed before, so it'd be interesting to see what he takes from that fight. And now he's with Andy Lee and Tyson Fury being around as well. How much he would how much he would change his game? That would be an interesting matchup. So moving on to the Anthony Joshua Otto Wallin fight. That was considered a bit of a banana peel for a lot of guys. A lot of people were kind of sneakily picking Wallin to upset Anthony Joshua, but in the end it turned out to be a one-sided beatdown really. So, Coltrane, what do you make of Joshua's performance against Wallin, a southpaw as well, who'd beaten twice in the amateurs as well apparently?
Yeah, I wasn't one of them. I knew it would be a one-sided affair. No disrespect to Wallin, but I was just like, he don't pose any type of problems I know the type of style to give Anthony Joshua problems, and that's not it. So I just think that the Wilder loss probably amped up Joshua's performance. I think that when he saw Wilder had that slippage, when guys fight on the main card, a lot of fans don't know this. They be watching the other fight. Don't think that they're not watching, because they are, and especially given the circumstances of them potentially fighting each other again, not again, but fighting each other in the spring. So for a while, and that was unfortunate. Now Joshua was completely dialed in, and it was like a sparring match really at that point. Joshua's he's a good fighter. Like, he just lost to really good people. I'm drawing a blank. The Mexican heavyweight he lost to.
Usyk.
Joshua. No, the Mexican kid he lost to. Well, he's not a kid no more.
He
he's
lost twice to
the one that knocked him out. That knocked Joshua out. Then he came back and beat him in a rematch.
Andy Ruiz. Andrew Ruiz.
Yeah. Andy Ruiz, right? He he had that hiccup. He came back, avenged his loss, like a true champion. And then his other losses are to Usyk. Like Usyk is an Olympian, future Hall of Famer. Like it's no shame. Like fans forget.
Yeah,
I mean, not forget. They don't understand how hard it is to beat a guy like Usyk, who got all the tricks in the book.
yeah,
It's very complicated. Watch when him and Fury fight. People gonna see why this dude is so complicated. So the Joshua loss is not going to look that bad no more at that point. But I just think Joshua, because I was telling people this before Wilder lost, that don't sleep on Joshua in the Wilder fight. That styles make fights, and unfortunately we may never know now.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it sounds like Usyk as well. Over 300 amateur fights. He's got a wealth of experience, hasn't he?
Tricky.
Like you say, there's no shame losing to Usyk at all. He's one of the best in the world. Um, so, Coach Mustafa, what do you think this win does then for Anthony Joshua? Because people are again pointing out his mental state, whether he's up for it. But he came in there. Do you think him seeing Wilder lose to Parker, sort of a lot of stress was removed off, a lot of burden was removed off his shoulders. So he went out there and fought more of his natural fight. Do you think that loss of Wilder had an impact on how he came out more confident and more sort of just went
I,
out there and let his hands go?
I think that loss, Shamil, I think that loss made him say, not me. Wilder got upset. He ain't upset. But let me go
Yeah.
ahead early and let him know I'm the boss. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about being a southpaw. He just fought Usyk twice now.
Mm,
So he was but southpaw twice.
yeah,
Yep.
So many things already went. They Ben Davison, new coach. I think Davison kind of fit his style more than Derrick James did. Not saying better than Derrick James, but style for certain fighters. And so he's probably he let him in real confident. He want to let him know early that amateurs didn't matter. All the talk about him being broken mentally, he has something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
So he went because I don't know what people think Joshua soft whatsoever. I think people think that sometimes like the top guy is soft. Floyd was Lomachenko is not soft. You know what I'm saying? Because they got money, they living good, they're not soft, man. You know what I'm saying? So they think AJ not soft at all. You know what I'm saying? He
no,
may he that should be one of his, you know what I'm saying, his things. He just carries himself well. So I believe he wanted to come out there and show a point that he wasn't mentally psyched out. He wasn't done. He wasn't, what Wallace said about it, he said he was he was shutting himself almost. So he came out there and let him know early, you know,
yeah. So,
stopped him.
so a lot of people have said that Josh has had a lot of different coaches last few fights. Derek James is a great coach. Ben Davison is a great coach. Joshua just put on a great performance. Here's a predicament now for him. Is he gonna? Because he still is with Derek James. There just wasn't enough time for Derek James to get him ready for this fight
Ah,
because of Derek James' other commitments. So, do you go back to Derek James or do you stay with Ben Davison? So it's a tough one for Joshua, isn't it? Because he looked so good in that fight with Wallin.
we talk about styles. When it first happened, I didn't think that that was a good style for Joshua. I believe that the way he looked up now was the best style for him. Just because he's big and muscular, he doesn't have to. Because there's a lot of high guard, a lot of stand stationary, a lot of blocking. Um, them big, the best thing for him to do going rest of his career is to have head movement. He was pulling. They was pulling. He was slipping the violent shots, come back with counters. I think that's I think there is a great coach, probably the best in the game right now. But if styles make fights and even some fights with me, we don't mix good. And it's vice versa because we kind of don't gel. So I believe that he looked real good on that way. But Davidson, he should stay with him.
Yeah, it's interesting because Anthony Joshua is very athletic, coming from our hometown, Watford. this guy was breaking records, school records for the fastest ever 100-meter sprint. So
Who done-
we know Anthony Joshua was, yeah. So we know he's an athlete. So culture,
we never knew that
yeah,
because
Joshua he's an athlete, 100%
he
athlete.
appeared to be just big, strong, stand in front of you, boom, 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 with power, stationary. But the other day he looked like an athlete. He looked
Yeah,
elusive. He looked
yeah, maybe because the traditional style of English boxing is more of that sort of upright, hands high, sort of textbook style. Whereas Ben Davison, he also works with Lee Wiley, who's a great analyst, film analyst. So I'm sure a lot of us have seen his videos on YouTube. He's like the original and the best one. So they probably have more of a style more conducive to the American style of boxing. So that's a little bit different there. So Coltrane, who do you think Joshua should be working with if you were to choose sort of a coach? Obviously, you have to be respectful of the other coaches because, like we said, Derek James is a great coach. But who do you think would suit Joshua's style most, especially coming from your Philly background? A lot of great coaches in Philadelphia, a great style of boxing. What do you think Joshua's sort of ideal coach would be?
I mean, you mean ideal, or should he stay with who he like between who he dealing with now, between the two?
Let's go for both. So ideally, who would you want to see him working with, and do you believe he should stay with Ben Davidson now as well?
Yeah, I kind of with Coach Moo a little bit. I feel like again, Derek James. He's the fall guy. He was the fall guy. Coach Moo, you guys know. I put it on my page like, you guys kill me. Like 1 minute you love these guys, and then they lose into the best fighters in the world. Like Crawford beats Spence
Exactly.
up. That's Terrence Crawford. You know what I mean? Like, who do you want?
Mm,
I just like doing the
definitely.
social media. You know what I mean? Fighters Emmanuel Stewart had that lost big fights, one-sided fights, like Eddie Futch, the list goes on. But anyway, um, ideally, what I had liked, and I told you this
Yeah,
before, Fayz, is that I would have liked for him to come over here to the stateside, like Fury did, and pick some of these old school trainers' brains, like a guy like Sugar Hill, right? Who I know he don't always work with Fury, but the information is. I'm an information guy, so even if you're not always working with these trainers, you're getting the information. So we have trainers here in America, and this is no shade to other countries, any of that, but a lot of these bigger guys, it was a reason why they came here to connect with guys like Emmanuel Stewart, because they wanted to learn the proper way on how to be big and not just standing in front of guys like robots. And I just felt like had Joshua did this early on in his career, I think his career is a lot different. I think he got comfortable. That guy got what he got 16 million followers on Instagram. He became an overnight sensation. He looked the part. He looks like a movie star. So everything was, and it's not that he didn't work hard, but you got to factor all that stuff in. So he wasn't really hungry, like Bernard called it, the silk pajama mindset. He had those silk pajamas on, so he wasn't hungry. Where Fury, and Fury can come off as a goofball and all that, but don't get it twisted. When it came to his craft, he knew where to go to get the information from. So I don't have a name in mind in particular. It's funny, it's weird how stuff works because I think Malik Scott would actually probably work better with Joshua than he does with
yeah.
Wilder. It's funny how that go, right?
Mm.
But I think he should stay with who he's with now. Me personally, it's no knock to Derek Jones, only because Derek got a lot going on. He got a lot going on right now, like fighters wise. So I think that some big fights are coming down the pike for Joffrey. He could potentially get the winner. Well, I don't think he would fight Usyk again, but if Fury was to win, you and I know if Fury fight Anthony Joshua, that fight's gonna break all types of records in the history of boxing. Like that's like monumental. Like we talking like the Beatles type stuff. It's just America don't even need to tune in, and it'll still break all types of records. But I just think he needs to stay status quo, man. Like don't keep it simple. Don't try to, rewrite it. Just keep it as is, and then go from there. He probably got a few years left. I don't think he's staying around boxing. He's not gonna be a lifer in the sport. Probably got like 2-3 years left.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important to emphasise your point again that Derek James is a great coach. Ben Davis is a great coach. Mike Scott, all great coaches. It's just unfortunate, like you say, the average boxing fan seems to pick on the coach for some reason, because there's a bias there, isn't there? But they're all top coaches, and ourselves as coaches, we understand the business as well. It's a little bit unfair, isn't it, at times how the coaches sort of singled out for these losses. It's unfortunate. So, Coach Mustafa, I want to ask you this, and Coltrane, you could chip in as well. American heavyweight boxing. Coltrane just mentioned that a lot of the boxers go to America to train with the coaches in America because there's a track record of heavyweight greats in America. You look for a top 10 list of great heavyweight boxers, the only one who is not American is probably Lennox Lewis. The rest are going to be all Americans. Probably the top 15 or 20, you could say. Maybe top 20, probably say all Americans apart from Lennox Lewis. So I'm not gloating when I say this, but British heavyweight boxing is doing pretty well now with Fury, Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois. What is? I know we've spoken. I know we've said in the past that the other sports, American football, basketball, has been stealing the athletes from potential heavyweight boxers in America. So what has happened to American heavyweight boxing? If it was glory days, who's next on the horizon? Mustafa, you want to go first?
I don't know, brother. I don't know.
That's a tough one.
Tough one, honestly. You know what I'm saying? To say, like,
Do you think they'll go into the other sports, like American football and basketball? Or do you have to all?
Yes.
But
Gary Anderson.
Heavyweight boxing is like the pinnacle of all sports. Heavyweight champion. Heavyweight champion.
It used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be, Fayz. Not no more. Yeah, not no more. Them days are long gone in America.
So why is that? Why do you think that's happened?
Because football, basketball, those are they're all the young. I got a gym indicator. I'm in a. This is the second most populated black county in the whole country. I had maybe 4 kids there. You know what I'm saying? But they on the football field. They on that football field like they're 100 deep out there. You know what I'm saying? And they do football all year round. So that's just, I guess, the dynamics of how the world is now. It's very, very, very bleak. You know what I'm saying? There's not many. If you ask me, I would say the Jerry Anderson kid is probably he's the best we had in years. And then we look at behind him, there's not many others. The kid Brandon Moore out of Florida, I think 14-0, 4 on top rank a couple months ago. Brandon Moore, he young, learning, coming through, but the UK right now has a much deeper pool of even prospects right now in America by far.
Yeah, and a lot of them are using the American coaches as well, aren't they? So, Coltrane, what's your view on this then? The state of heavyweight boxing in America.
I love some American football. Me and you're a Washington fan. My team is the Eagles. I watch the NFL Red Zone every week.
Mention Washington now. Washington are awful now. You can't call me that now.
Yeah, bro, listen. I watch. I'm like, look at all these heavyweights running all over the place. It's listen, man. Kids, like he said, are looking for easier path to get paid. Not easier because they still have to put the work in, but it's a much more simplistic process to become a millionaire. Being a professional football or basketball player, you don't have to take your body through what you have to take your body through. Being a heavyweight, and the want and the need isn't there like it once was. Look what's going on right now in boxing, right? If I would have told you 30 years ago the best division in boxing right now is the lightweight division filled with African American fighters, like that was like unheard of. You know why black fighters left the lightweight division back then? Because there was no money down there. So they all moved up. Like that's just how it was in America. Traditionally, you look at, and it wasn't just black America, even any ethnic race, but for the most part, when you have black fighters fighting these smaller weight classes, I was just telling somebody about Mark Too Sharp Johnson, who was way down on the totem pole weight wise, and he said, he felt like that somewhat hindered his career because he wasn't able to move up and fight in the bigger weight classes. But welterweight became like the front, the face of boxing, kind of. No, it did. De La Hoya, Trinidad, Shane Mosley, and all those guys, but it was perfected by Sugar Ray Leonard and the Four Kings. But even those guys during that time, the heavyweight still was at its pinnacle, But I would say after Tyson retired, and then you went through the '90s with Lennox, uh, Bo, Holyfield, that whole era. Once that era went away, so did the heavyweight in America. That was it after that. That was the last, hurrah for that particular division. And then it became all about the smaller guys. And then when Floyd comes along, it was no looking back at that point because he did something nobody was able to do. Not only being a smaller fighter, but a guy that don't knock people out, but yet become a box star, a box attraction, at the box office, what have you. So these other guys see it, these little guys, and the rest is history. And you see what's going on: Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, Gervonta Davis. The list goes on of these smaller fighters that's just they're the front, like they're help carrying the sport in America right now. These little fighters, Teofimo Lopez, they're all like smaller guys. So that's where we're at, unfortunately.
I train sometimes NFL guys sometimes. Me and for the Redskins too. DJ Scramager, we pretty cool.
Oh
He
yeah,
come
the
on,
safety.
and I always say to myself, "What in the this big, strong athlete, man, you supposed to be in the ring, man." But it's just they on that
Yeah.
football field.